Latest update, nothing strange, obviously, to report after doing the most recent video, since that was Urbex, and not anything directly occult paranormal, and nothing that's stand out happened during the exploration of the building. I do have a message from one of you on Facebook, a private message, so of course I'm not going to mention your name or anything, but I did reply to you already. You asked a good question, though, something that I thought some others might be interested in discussing. So I'll go ahead and repeat your question, say similar to what I said to you, and then everybody else can also say what their thoughts are on the topic. You asked me basically about an older camera that you had access to and a location you were headed to. Basically, the premise is of the question: do older cameras that actually use a material film instead of a digital camera saving an image to an SD card or some sort of memory, do the actual film cameras have some sort of higher chance, better ability of capturing paranormal phenomena, namely ghosts or apparitions? And as I'm sure most of you, if you're interested in the occult and the supernatural, paranormal, whatever terms you want to use, I'm sure you've seen a few famous photos. Women on stairs, nuns, priests. Just to mention a couple famous ones, maybe the most famous, but there are a few examples out there of older pictures, film pictures, being the most notorious, most famous photos of ghosts and apparitions, which might suggest that film does have a higher chance of capturing something, especially when you consider the fact that now in the digital age there are vastly more cameras and vastly more pictures being taken than I would estimate there ever were, back when everybody was running around with 35mm cameras, clicking them and then going to Walmart to get them developed. Which I know I did. But of course I never captured anything. It is interesting to note, though, that one thing that happens with the 35mm cameras, or rather film cameras, you can actually cause double exposures, for example, which end up sometimes looking and can fool a person into thinking that there is something ghostly going on in the picture. If you've ever seen a double exposure, I did it. You get your film mixed up, take multiple pictures with it, and then you end up with kind of two pictures layering over each other. So if you were taking pictures of people, you end up with sort of this opaque, almost clear version of some of the people you took pictures of, and then whoever you took pictures of in the other shot seemed more solid. And that's just one issue that you can end up with, of course, but more to the point, what I said was, if you consider the incredible number of pictures that people have taken since film was developed, even considering movies, television shows, where obviously they use a reel of film and they're capturing, granted usually the same angle, the same view, but capturing 30 frames a second or so, sometimes more obviously. There's a hell of a lot of pictures taken since taking pictures with film was developed, since it even became commonplace. There's been a ridiculous, beyond worth taking the time to calculate number of pictures taken, pieces of film used to take pictures, and how many of them have been publicized and accepted as a photo of an apparition or a ghost, even by true believers, even by people that will accept have much less lenient tolerances and don't require the photo to be checked out for doctoring, anything like that, to have the negatives examined, anything like that. And then, of course, consider the ridiculous amount of digital recording that happens on a daily basis now, where every single person has a cell phone, and every single thing that anybody can do in public has been recorded and even uploaded to YouTube. Anything you want to see somebody doing that was a part of a normal daily life, from buying butter to using the bathroom, anything has been uploaded. Everything has been recorded. And how much of that video, I don't know, there must be millions of hours of video on YouTube. How much of it did somebody accidentally catch a ghost in? How much of it did somebody accidentally catch an apparition in? And I would argue the incredibly low rate of ghosts and apparitions. In theory, if ghosts and apparitions are something that can be captured on film or on digital video, it would have to be less of a we get lucky and catch them sort of thing, and more of a they choose, or something else, some other factor makes them appear. The camera is just there when that other thing happens, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with the film or the digital part, just something else, some kind of overlapping coincidence that was not caught, not recorded, not noticed. Otherwise, logic would reason that we would have to have caught. I mean, think of all the security cameras, think of all the webcams. There's just too much video, too much recording happening for normal cameras to be able to take in light and catch apparitions and ghosts the way most people consider them and think of them. There's just too many photos and too much recording happening for that to be as simple as it sounds in theory. And that would be my take on it. That if you do have an old camera that uses film, you're just as well off going with digital. And heck, that way you can actually record every second of it. I don't think anybody out there has the market cornered, kind of like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. There's nobody out there that you can go to for ghost photos that does it well and always has pictures of ghosts or pictures of apparitions or even pictures of spirits. Anything that you would typically think of when you think of the cliched definition of a ghost, the typical definition of a ghost. Nobody has those. Nobody's out there selling a magazine full of tested, tried and true pictures of ghosts. So I don't think anybody has it totally figured out. That's just my best guess, that the method you're using to catch the light is irrelevant. It's sort of like that whole photographers saying, you know, to take a good picture, you just be there at the right time. It's not about the photographer, it's about what's happening, sort of thing. I would think of it's more kind of like that, which would explain why some people can go their whole life and never experience anything that convinces them that there's anything as far as life after death, whereas some people will say that they're very sensitive to it and see it all the time. Well, yeah, you know, some people also see other very rare things happen, like, I don't know, some people might think they lead a charmed life because they're in several very near-death accidents. That could be pure coincidence too, for example, but might lead them to think they're the reason that they didn't die, and you get the idea. Somebody might think the camera is what lets them capture the ghost, when it was actually something else. Anyway, I'm starting to get off topic here and rambling. So, back to matters at hand. And that reminds me, even though I did mention it at the beginning, be sure, if you think that's totally stupid bullshit, to go ahead and leave it in the comment below and let me know why you think it's bullshit, so that we can better understand each other. And if you don't think it's crap, if you think there is some merit to that idea, go ahead and tell me also why, and let me hear your thoughts on the whole film versus digital as far as capturing typical standard apparition, ghost phenomena, however you would describe those things. Even orbs, for example. Even though that gets off onto the whole is it dust particles sort of arguments, whatever. Go ahead and weigh in on those too, if you like, in the comments below. Anything when it comes to photographing ghosts, apparitions, that sort of thing, film, digital, dust particles, orbs, whatever, all of that. I'm curious to hear what others think about it. Now then, back to matters at hand, the visual targets for the psychic predictions this week. Like I've been doing, I'm going to go ahead and read the predictions that you sent in. The first one is from Ellie Jackson. They say, I think next week's image is going to be an animal. Cafe Azawa says a keyboard or a musical instrument of the piano variety, the sky at mid-morning, and pyramids or triangles and sort of desolate. Oh, also, William asked, new place for update videos. It's actually the same place, just a different camera angle and getting rid of all the ridiculous clutter I had up on that shelf. Even if it was cool to look at, it's, well, anybody that's had a lot of clutter knows how clutter can sort of slow you down. All the stuff is still here and everything, it's just off to the side this way. Back to the predictions. Sal Lee says the next week's target image is an Indian chief's face, red, white, and yellow feathers in his headdress, an older man with a weather-beaten face, and a hint of a smile as if he knows something we don't. Celine Moontail says next week is a photo of a campground near a beach, and the sign for the campground says Blackfoot Campgrounds. That's very specific. It's night, and there's a full supper blue moon in the sky. The next prediction from Brianna Long says something to do with horses or ponies, maybe equine. Nathan Fanstuick says, I see a muddy background, green, yellow, and black colors. In the foreground, something shaped like an underwater plant or mollusk, also yellow and black. Blood Raven says next week's photo is a video game or the planet Saturn. Darzer says a gray wooden box with a slot in it, something orange and round in the background. Cassiope says a picture involving the color orange and stars. Taylor Anderson says I have a few predictions. In one, I see dark colors, mostly grays, almost monochromatic. Maybe a window with a humanoid silhouette visible through it. In another, I see the color green and some kind of animal, a house pet, I would guess. Mr. Desgo says they're grasping at straws, but maybe, just maybe... Oh, I'm sorry. That was him commenting about a previous prediction. Trevor Juve, J-U-V-E, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I suck, sorry. They said the picture would be... Well, they said that they're sensing the picture would be a painting, perhaps Van Gogh, lots of flowers, and they said if not that, then something industrial. Now, the visual target, I have it up here in the next tab. This was your target. I'll go ahead and get you a little closer. As you can see, it's a red car, to put things simply, and there is a large rock formation in the background, and a fair amount of green growth around the edges, and sparsely above the car there in the back of the image, with a clear sky beyond that. So distinctly pointing out the color red, maybe a large window, could be taken as the windshield. Black tires, silver rings, things like that stand out. The environment, even possibly, large stones, a rock formation, any of those could be construed as hits. Go ahead and look close at the image and pick out anything you think might be a hit based on the predictions that I just read, people submitted. And if you think somebody really nailed it, be sure to let me know in the comments. One of you did that this time. Thanks. I really appreciate it. And you linked me a video that I need to watch. But back on point. If you have no idea what this is about, every week after this video, I go to a website that has a really large number of random images posted by anonymous users. I take one of those images at random. I don't know which one I'm going to end up with, and that is your visual target for the next week. Everybody's allowed to send in comments, post comments on this video as to what the visual target will be, and it'll be revealed next week, just like this one was revealed this week. So basically you have 1 week to send in your predictions to try to guess, predict, divine what the target image is. It's basically a experiment in psychic abilities, or whatever else you would call the ability to know something that, given typical faculties, you couldn't possibly know. And I appreciate everybody that tries out every week. It's very awesome to read the comments. It's exciting, to flip through them and wonder if the next person is going to be spot on, So thank you, everybody that does send them in. I appreciate that. And if you want to try your luck, try your hand, your skill, even, if that's what you consider it, be sure to leave it below in the comments. And also there will be a little subscribe button up here if you want to make sure that you do get notified when I post up the next videos, because that's where I will end up reading your prediction. And everybody else will be able to hear it, and they can let you know how well they think you did, so that you don't just end up hearing my uppity opinion. You get the idea. And because it's a group project, And speaking of groups, thanks one more time.